Thank God. All right, Robert, do you want to go ahead and call the meeting to order?
Yes, good evening, everyone. So it's Monday, May 15th at 6:37 p.m. And I now call to order this regular meeting of the Jersey City Historic Preservation Commission.
Please be advised, in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, the notice of the time, date, and place of this regularly scheduled meeting of the Jersey City Historic Preservation Commission has been sent to the Jersey Journal, Jersey City Reporter, and Ellis Basilito on Friday, May 12th. Same notice has been provided to the clerk's office for posting on the bulletin board outside of the city clerk's office in City Hall and on the city website. I have proof of this notice here in evidence up on the screen. Bridget, if you wouldn't mind marking this as B1.
Okay, the notices will be B1 for tonight's hearing.
Thank you. All right, we'll move to a roll call attendance. Commissioner Amatuza,
Here.
Commissioner Griga,
Here.
Commissioner Sandkamp,
Here.
Commissioner Gunther,
Here.
Commissioner Blazak,
Here.
Commissioner Cronin,
Here.
Commissioner Lewis is absent, Commissioner Sakong is absent, Vice Chair Gutierrez,
Here.
and Chairman Gordon.
Present.
Okay, there are 8 members of the commission in attendance tonight. 5 affirmative votes are needed for a certificate of appropriateness. All right, next item up on the agenda is the approval of minutes from the last meeting. Does anyone have any questions, concerns, corrections on the minutes? Okay, hearing
Motion
none.
to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, I'll do a roll call because we were not all here for this. Commissioner Gunther,
Aye.
Commissioner Sankamp.
Aye.
Commissioner Blazak,
Aye.
Commissioner Amatuza,
Aye.
Commissioner Griga,
Aye.
Commissioner Cronin,
Aye.
Commissioner Lewis is absent, Commissioner Sakong is absent, Vice Chair Gutierrez,
Aye.
and Chairman Gordon.
Aye.
All right, there are 8 votes in favor, none against, no abstentions. The minutes from the April 24th meeting are approved. Okay. Correspondence. Correspondence was distributed to the commission from the attorney representing 591 Montgomery. On the agenda, they are carried to the May meeting. They were carried to this meeting. However, they were not, their plans were not prepared in time for this meeting, so they requested to adjourn that application to June. All other copies of correspondence and application materials are linked through the application number on tonight's agenda. Staff has no announcements for the commission or for the public, so we can do some public comment. If there are any members of the public in attendance tonight who would like to speak regarding matters of historic preservation that are not on tonight's agenda, you can use the raise hand function at the bottom of the screen or press *9 on your phone. Okay. Staff sees no hands raised and recommends a motion to open and close public comment.
Motion. Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. We have no old business on tonight's agenda, which brings us to new business. So Robert, if you would like to go ahead and call the first case.
Yes, thank you, Maggie. I'll call case H22-407. The applicant is Dirk Garlick, AIA, on behalf of Sarah Lauder, owner. The address is 311 Barrack Street in the Van Voorst Park Historic District. And this is an application for a certificate of appropriateness for the interior renovation and construction of a terrace on an existing 1-story rear addition that is partially visible from Mercer Street, and a rooftop deck with bulkhead not visible from the public right-of-way on an altered contributing circa 1890 Italianate brownstone fronted row house in the Van Voorst Park Historic District.
All right, so we just need to swear you in, and then you should be able to share your screen after. And I'm sorry, we have to qualify you in between. We talked about that.
Hi, good evening, everyone. And I'm Jialing Yuan from
One
Dirk Garlick.
second, please. Could you raise your right hand to be sworn?
Sorry, I was using the mouse. Good evening, I'm Jialing Yuan from Dirk Garlic Architects. I'm the partner at
Excuse
the
me,
office.
you need to swear your witness with any testimony, Miss Ling.
Pardon?
Can you hear me? Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Oh, Miss Ling, you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this proceeding will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. Could you state and spell your full name for the record?
Hi, I am Jialing Yuan,
Spell that, please.
CHIA-LING. The last name is YUAN.
Thank you.
All right, Chaling, if you wouldn't mind just giving the commission just a very brief overview of your qualifications so that we can get you qualified and get your presentation started.
Sure, I'm licensed architect and have been practice architecture design over 20 years and currently is the partner at the Dirk Garlic Architects.
Great. Staff recommends that the chair accept Chaling's qualifications as an expert in the field of architecture.
So accepted.
Thanks. All right, you should be able to share your screen and present.
Great. Let's see. Screen 2. That's the one. Okay. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I'm going to walk you through the project scope of work. So the first page you can see, it's a brownstone within the Van Fourth historic district, and they have a historic facade. And the property location is located between the Mercer and Montgomery Street. And there is open parking at the back close to Mercer Street. That's when we describe the project. There is a partial visible from this location into the backyard of the property. And so we're going to walk you through the project. So the project, this is the, okay. So this is a photo we have taken from the project site to study how the new roof terrace at the existing one-story addition at the backside, how that will be visible from this parking location, and the roof bulkhead at the top floor and is located right in the middle of the building. So there's no visibility from any of the property right of way. So as you see, this is the view number 1 from the Varick Street, and the photo 1 is the different angle from the Montgomery Street looking at the property. So there's no work at the front facade and only minor work at the rear facade to access that roof terrace. So this is the front, and this is the corner number 3 from the Varick and Montgomery Street. And this is the front facade right on, and this is the view from the Montgomery Street, and the building is situated right between in the block. So this view is really from the Mercer, that open parking area to look from the rear yard. The building actually is behind those trees. And this is the current rear facade elevation. And there is, adjacent neighbor both have a deck built up. And this is the lot view for the building location. There's a little front yard and the backyard, and this is the existing one-story addition that is currently within the property. And the work is really just convert that roof into a usable roof terrace. And for the interior work is really a minor demolition. It's kind of just minor remove the partition. And for the rear facade, is really convert the existing 2 window into the door, mimicking the existing language to give the access to the rear roof terrace. And this is the demolition. And this is the existing rooftop drawings. Again, this is just illustrate the lot, the building located within the lot. This is the basement plan. This is the first floor, second floor, and as you see, the first floor, this is the new, not really new, it's the roof terrace on the existing one-story addition. So feel free to interrupt me if you have any questions. So this is the demo of the rear facade. So basically is to replace the sliding door with, you know, a better and using the historic color, and then provide some lighting and the all downlight based on the historic requirement.
I'm sorry, repeat that last part.
In the basement, this is the basement level, is to replace the sliding door with the new, but to matching the historic language and the color and the selections. And there is a wall mounted lighting is the downlight based on the historic requirement. So as you can see right here. And then this two existing window will be modified to extend it to the floor level to give the access to the roof terrace right on top of the existing story. And there is a metal handrail painted as black. And this is the roof bulkhead, and the bulkhead is sloped. So there to eliminate the visibility from the right public right of way. And as you see, we indicate the historic colors. And at the rooftop, the bulkhead slope, and we're using the cement board as the exterior finish. And we suggest to use the black colors here, and the same with the black handrails around the terrace. Here is the section of the building, show you the bulkhead is just an extension of the existing stair to access the roof deck. And this is the detail of the windows and the French door into the lower portion of the roof terrace. So this is more detail of the windows. So that's pretty much of the scope of work. And we would like to obtain a certificate of appropriateness. I will leave you here.
Thank you. Does the commission have any questions?
I have a question about this particular page that you have up at the moment. This is Commissioner Gucciardo. The existing conditions on the left at the basement level just show a white facade, and then on the proposed, you show a brick facade. Are you changing the facade?
Yes, try to improve the condition. As you see, this is a stucco.
And you're proposing brick instead?
Yes.
That's great to see that improvement on the rear facade. And is it a brick that's similar to the rest of the building?
Yeah, that's the idea. And the scope also include to like kind of repair this, the patching this previous work.
Okay. And
so try to provide more cohesive facade to match the historic appearance.
Okay, thank you. And the railings on the roof, the black railings are metal, and are they the same as the railings on the lower deck?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes.
I have one question about the terrace. I see that there's a change in, like there's a step up from the door. Can you explain why there's a step and then why the railing needs to step up as opposed to it being sort of one level?
You talk about here?
Yeah, well, like when you walk out the door to the right, to the terrace, it's not a single plane, it's like it steps up. Whereas the existing roof is, flat.
Get the section. Yeah, it's supposed to be the same level, just step out, probably a little bit, a curve, to try to, prevent the water to get in. But we not anticipate to have a big step to be the same level.
Yes, but I'm looking at the rear elevation, if you can go back to that page.
Here,
Well, the rear elevation where you show the facade. I mean, you can see that the railing,
yep.
it's going up and then back. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not straight across. Is the floor level different? Are there two different heights of the roof deck?
It's not planned to be, because we plan to put the deck over to kind of align with the interior finish.
Maybe I could ask it another way. Is the deck the same width all the way across from, all the way across the width of the building?
That's the intent.
So we're not understanding why there's a visual jog in the illustration of the railing on this page.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's not a straight across, that the terrace isn't necessarily flush. It's not a single plane. I mean, given the
Yeah.
visibility, I think that's a bit strange and it should maybe be simplified somehow.
Yeah, because from the section, it's the intent to flush with the finish, and then it's all one level, and didn't anticipate to have the jog here. So I will go back and take a look at it.
I mean, Ms. Gunther is pointing out that there's clearly, it looks like two height levels on that deck.
Right. Yeah, I don't think that's the intent. Can
Well,
we
as far as I can
provide?
see, that might be the only issue here that I see. So if that's some sort of mistake or CAD error, I would say that that's just something that maybe as a condition of approval, we should make sure that that is fixed and that it's all at one level and the railing just goes straight across, because otherwise this seems very typical of what we've approved.
For sure.
And I don't, other than perhaps this one thing with the deck level and the height of the railing changing, that's the only possible issue I can see here. So personally,
Huh. But I think the jog is based on, because we try to maintain the existing basement floor height. So when we try to match the existing first floor with the terrace, we need to drop a little bit to match that level, but we don't really want to drop drastically on the basement entire ceiling, and that's the reason we did the jog.
Or then perhaps the roof should just be built up more. So that's all on one same level.
Yeah, but we tried to mimicking the adjacent neighbors, terrace
It
height.
doesn't seem
and-
like a typical condition. I can't imagine this is mimicking anything that's present at a neighbor's house. This I've never seen this before. So I can't imagine that the railing drops down like that. It's a detail that I've never seen in 10 years working in and around Jersey City. So
Especially since, Brian, they're bringing the windows down to a level to meet the deck, so they could easily make the deck level all the way across.
yeah, I mean, it would
transition.
mean, it could mean maybe just building the roof up a little more, maybe that door wouldn't be dropped down as much. When we're just talking about a couple inches here, but this is a very strange condition that's being shown, so.
It also makes the deck more functional for the applicant to not have it split, right? I mean, it just
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, so what we could do is we can keep the roof terrace at same level, so when they exit out, there is a little step
There you go.
into the deck.
Could you also just keep the railing the same height and put
Yep.
a border of the same wood fascia below the railing? And then if you
Yep.
wanted to step straight out, it will give you the same appearance of a clean straight line. I don't know if that's code, if the railing would be too tall, but if that, maybe you can answer that.
Yeah, so the building code is minimum 36, so minimum.
You could go
So you
higher.
can be higher, yes.
Okay,
So
so
actually,
maybe can we make that a condition that you just keep a straight rail?
Yes.
If you want to do it as a curb,
Yep.
a curb at the,
Yep, that actually is a great idea. So to keep the appearance consistent, and we still can do the level difference within the deck. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, are there any other questions, comments? All right, hearing none. Cheeling, does that conclude your testimony?
Yep.
Great, thank you. All right, can move to open public comment. If there are any members of the public in attendance who would like to speak regarding this application, please use the raise hand function at the bottom of the screen. If you're on the phone, you can press *9. Okay. Staff sees no hands raised and recommends a motion to open and close public comment.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we're gonna move to staff comments. Sarah, give me 1 second for you to be able to share your screen.
No problem.
Can stop sharing, sorry. Oh,
It's okay. All right, Sarah, you should be good.
All right.
Oh, we just see your email login.
Yep. Do you mind sharing it, Maggie? This is
Yep,
more
I got you.
complicated than it should be on a phone. Thank you.
No problem. Jump to staff comment.
Yes, please.
Okay.
All right. So after reviewing the proposed project, staff finds that the proposal is mostly consistent with the Secretary of the Interior standards for restoration and new construction, as well as with the historic design standards and rules and regulations. The proposed terrace and roof deck are consistent with the existing paradigm of the block and fall within the vernacular traditions of the neighborhood. While the rear terrace is partially visible from Mercer Street as seen on the block site plan, there are a number of rear additions and or terraces in this row that are also partially visible from Mercer Street, including an addition at 313 Varick and a rear terrace on top of an addition at 309 Varick. In HPC staff's opinion, the project as proposed will not cause an adverse effect on the character and or integrity of the historic resource, proximate resources, or the Van Voorst Park Historic District. HPC staff recommends approval of the certificate of appropriateness with the following conditions. And I have what are essentially the standard conditions. And then I believe we were adding the one about adjusting the height of the railing to keep the appearance consistent across the rear terrace. That's correct.
Yes, yeah, uniform appearance.
I think, Sarah, you could just say that raise the railing to the higher point, the metal railing to the higher point, and put a consistent fascia at the base, so that the top of the railing is consistent across the entire deck.
Okay. To raise the height of the railing to the higher heights and install consistent fascia so the base of the railing is consistent across the entire deck. So any questions for staff?
All right, hearing none, the recommendation on this is for approval of the COA with conditions.
I'll make a motion to approve
Go ahead, Brian.
conditions.
I'll second Brian's motion.
Okay. Does the applicant accept the conditions in the staff report and as read into the record tonight?
Yes.
Great. All right, we'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Sandkamp,
Aye.
Commissioner Griga,
Aye.
Commissioner Amatuza,
Aye.
Commissioner Blazak,
Aye.
Commissioner Cronin,
Aye.
Commissioner Gunther,
Aye.
Commissioner Lewis is absent, Commissioner Sakong is absent, Vice Chair Gucciardo,
Aye.
and Chairman Gordon.
Aye.
All right, there are 8 votes in favor, none against, no abstentions. The COA with conditions is granted.
Thank you.
All right, Sarah will be in touch.
Thank you.
All right, Robert, do you want to go ahead and call the next case?
Yes. Next up is case H23-12. The applicant is Jensen Vazel, RA, on behalf of Ankit and Angel Jane, owners. The address is 282 3rd Street in the Harsimus Cove Historic District. Application for a certificate of appropriateness for the construction of a 2-story rear yard addition visible from the public right-of-way, a new roof deck, and front facade windows at an altered contributing Greek Revival row house constructed circa 1870 in Harsimus Cove.
All right, Jensen, you should be able to unmute yourself. We just have to swear you in.
Evening, Commissioners. My name is Jensen Vasil. I'm an architect presenting 282 3rd Street.
Swear you in first, right? So everything is under oath. You swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this proceeding will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state and spell your full name for the record.
Jensen Vasil. First name Jensen, Jensen. Last name Vasil, V as in Victor, ASIL.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Staff notes that Jensen has been previously qualified as an expert in the field of architecture in front of this board many times. And you should be able to share your screen. You're good to go.
Very good. Thank you so much, Maggie. Good evening, Commissioners. This, as Ms. O'Neill introduced, this project is for a new 2-story rear addition with a roof deck at the principal roof, a terrace at the lower proposed addition, as well as the interior renovation and restoration of the front facade. The rear addition would be visible from the alleyway that is behind the rear yard between 3rd and 4th Streets, between the lots. And the project is located on 3rd Street between Coles and Jersey Avenue and the Harrismith Cove Historic District. The proposed addition would be fully conforming to zoning regulations. We're not asking for a variance. The lot is slightly undersized in depth. It's got a 95-foot existing non-conforming depth, but would not be affected. On the first or the second sheet, HPC 2, we have the site plan showing the existing 3-story brick residence. It's 3 stories over a basement. The basement's a legal basement. It's entered in at commonly referred to as the garden level. From the street, it's a few steps down from the street level. And there's an existing 1-story garage in the back. Currently, it's completely paved between the 2 buildings. The proposed building would maintain the same height of the principal structure. There's no change to the configuration of the front facade as far as height and the rear addition would extend back 15 foot 4 inches, the lower 2 stories at the garden parlor level. The existing 1-story garage would remain, and the area between the buildings would have permeable pavers. So it'd be completely permeable to allow rainwater through. And at the front, the existing planter bed and sort of serpentine walk, bluestone walk would remain. There would be a terrace over the rear addition, and there would be fences at the 2 property lines between the adjacent neighbors. On the HPC 3, you can see the rear aerial view of the site. The site on that block, on the 3rd Street block, you can see many additions for the principal building with the 1-story garages in the back. It's a common type configuration. And as you can see, the existing photos there, it's 100% covered. The existing garage, the door remains in the same location. It's all brick. That would be, as we'll show you, the refinished. The rear of the building is brick, and the addition would come out, and we would maintain the existing brick at the rear facade on the upper floors. And then the last photo shows the side building, which is cut out with a light well. So that building is set back from ours. The next sheet, HPC 4, shows the existing floor plans. Currently, it's a 3-family, 3 residences in the principal structure. It would go down to 2 residences, and the rear is a garage, which would remain the same use. It'd be a full interior renovation. And the rear wall at the lower 2 floors would be removed to accommodate the addition and the new spaces. The proposed floor plans would have a 2-bedroom, 1-bath apartment or at the garden level, and they would not have access to they would have access to the rear yard. Sorry, and on the upper floors, the parlor level triplex is the owner's triplex. The parlor level being living, kitchen, dining, powder room, and the upper 2 floors being bedrooms. We are proposing the terrace over the addition, as I had mentioned before, which would be pedestal style deck tiles. And on the principal roof, the same thing with the deck tiles over the roofing, the roof structure, and a sky door, so that the access to the roof is not visible from the access alone from the roof is not visible from the public right of way. On the next sheet, HPC 5, we have the elevations, the exterior elevations, beginning with the front. The openings on the existing door would be refurbished. The door does look original from the text, the 1938 tax photo. The windows at the garden level and the upper 2 floors would be removed and replaced in the original masonry openings. And at the parlor level, we are proposing to remove some area underneath the sills to elongate the windows. The front of the building would be resurfaced with a cement stucco brownstone or cement stucco finish with brownstone color. It is currently does have that sort of finish on it, but we had done some investigatory demolition to see if the brick could be salvaged, and unfortunately the face of the brick was coming off with the cement. So we provided those photos to HPO, and we've decided to use this approach on the front for the facade material. The lower 2 floors would have rustication lines, so heavier grounding the building, and the top floors would have the smooth cement finish. The colors proposed would be brown. We have 2 colors here, but we would prefer we have a preference for the Careless Whispers, the one on the right, the lighter color, both in a fairly common brownstone color. On the rear of the building, the addition would be cement stucco with a warm gray, a Wickham gray. That would have the doors access from the garden level to the rear yard. On the parlor level, it would have a guard, so that there are doors there, but they would just be to maximize the amount of light into that kitchen. And then the terrace with a set of doors where we'd be maintaining the lintels from the original window openings, the jack arches and or the semi arch brick arches would remain, so they're ghosted on the exterior. And the brick, as I mentioned before, the brick material upstairs would remain. One other thing of note on the front facade is that currently the lintels have been removed. They had been sheared off over time, that those would all be brought back. So the original lintels above the windows and sills below would be built out of cement stucco to match the original profile. There would be a shielded light at the rear of the building. We have not proposed a light at the front of the building. On the next sheet, HPC 6, we have the material details for the pedestal roofing. The roofing material itself is proposed to be TimberTech weathered teak. The railing is proposed to be a cable rail, so black metal frame with the braided steel. And then the fascia / gutter line would be a Yankee gutter, concealed gutter, which would be painted a dark gray, deep caviar. The sky door operation would be just a few inches above the finished deck height, the deck tiles, so it'd be very low profile. And then the permeable pavers between the buildings would allow for the passage of water to minimize its impact on runoff and into the sewer. And then the back of the garage would be redone with a 3-part cement stucco finish, and that color would also be the Wickham gray to match the back wall, so they're uniform together. On sheet HPC 7, you can see the building sections, the outline of the building, the roof slope, the heights of the building would remain, the cornice line in the front. You can see the sky door here, as well as the railings for the roof deck. It is not visible from the public right-of-way from 3rd Street. From the rear of the building, from that alleyway, you would not be able to see the sky door, but you would be able to see a portion of the railing. We believe by having the railing black and the cable rail that it minimizes its impact, especially from the secondary public right-of-way. So we've tried to make that as invisible or invisible as possible. And then on sheet HPC 8, we have the restoration details for notes for the front door, and for the front windows, which are wood windows, wood Marvin windows. And then on the HBC 9, we have the details for the rear, which are clad aluminum windows. They're clad in Ultrex on the outside, wood on the inside for the windows and doors. And then additional details on sheet HBC 10. That concludes my presentation of the drawings. I believe the owner might want to make a brief statement if that's possible.
Sure. Give me just a second and I can promote them. We'll have to swear them in though.
Sure.
Okay, in order, guys, Enki and Angel, you do have to accept the panelist invitation. You should, yeah, you should be able, there you go. We're just gonna have to swear you in first and then you guys will be able to address the commission.
Hi, I'm Angel Jane.
1 second. Do you swear or confirm you will give the testimony to the best of your ability under oath this evening?
I will.
I do.
And could you state and spell your full name?
Ankit, last name is Jain, Jain.
And I am Angel, Angel, Jain, Jane.
Great, thanks, guys. You're welcome to address the commission.
All right, thank you. So yes, we're Ankit and Angel. We've been living in Jersey City for 16 years and around this neighborhood for the last 12. We're really, really excited about this project. This is going to be our residence, our home, and we're going to be sharing it with our parents. And quick thank you to you, Maggie, especially, and everybody on the committee, everybody who's touched the file, everybody who's answered our questions and helped us. And now I'm going to turn it over to Ankit for a few short comments on our project before we turn it back to you.
Can I share my screen?
What are you looking to share?
Just a brief PowerPoint about the Windows research that I've done.
Yes, we'll have to mark it as evidence. So Bridget, if we can mark this, I'll leave it up to you for the best name because I always manage to mess it up.
This will be A1 for this application.
Okay, Ankit, just please make sure you email me a copy of this following the presentation so that I can get it over to Bridget. Okay, you should be able to share your screen.
Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So besides the presentation from Jensen, we just want to actually appeal the board to help us approve the larger windows. The existing size of the rough opening of the windows is 6 feet 2 inches by 3 feet. And we are proposing a slightly larger window, 7 feet 9 inches by 3 feet. We are doing it for 2 reasons. The first reason is that there is some precedence on the block and in the immediate neighborhood where we have seen mixed size windows. Some windows are around 6 feet. Some windows are full height of the floor. Some windows are around like 7 feet 10 inches. However, Maggie has provided us the records, tax records from 1938, and the oval circle that you see in the map, there is no historic record of taller windows in that area. This is the only house on 3rd Street on that block that has taller windows of 7 feet and 10 inches. Around the neighborhood, there are a lot of mixed size windows, like I said, and we took some pictures of the sample, the windows in the neighborhood. That clearly shows that some windows are full height, some windows are more than 7 feet, and some windows are of the normal size, like approximately 6 feet. And these are some of the addresses where we have found the larger windows in the immediate neighborhood. The second reason why we are requesting the board to approve taller windows is due to the hardship that we have a much taller building, which is almost attached to our building and with no setback. So we always get a shadow
And by having a slightly larger window, while we will not change the character of the whole block, we will get a little bit more air and sunlight. That's all my presentation. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. All right. Does that, Jensen, does that conclude? I'm sorry, not your conclude your estimate. So we can take questions from the commissioners now. If there are any.
Did we see the 1938 tax photo anywhere in either presentation?
I included, so that's, I have a better copy on the data portal. I included it on the data portal as part of application materials. Do you want me to pull that up, Brian?
No, I didn't catch it. I just wanted to see it. My other question is do we have other photos of that specific row along the north side of 3rd Street? The owner mentioned there was one building with longer windows, and did they look at the tax photo for that building? And is there otherwise a consistent level of, or a consistent height of windows at the parlor level on this row? And is it all a row that was built at the same time? Because this question is both for you, Maggie, and maybe for Jensen or whoever.
Jensen, you can answer. I'm also happy to answer too.
I'll just say that on that block, there are varying heights of the windows on that block. I think Maggie did the research for the historic background, so she can answer that portion.
Sure. So there are, I mean, in this, Brian, to be what I think is what you're looking for is the very specific question. Within this row on this side of the block, architecturally, they were built, as far as we can tell, at the same time. They have a consistent cornice line across the front, stylistically the same cornice, and all of the buildings on this row. So you have 882, 880, 878, 876. 874, they all have the same height of windows, which are the shorter windows that are shown in the current configuration of the building. The 1938 all shows that consistently across, and there's no real evidence that I can tell, at least, of those window sizes being altered, right? Sometimes in the 38 we can see that it has a shorter window, but it's pretty clearly been altered. From what I can tell on these, especially the two adjacent to this building to the east, where they have brick on them and you would be able to see if they've been altered, it doesn't appear to be that way. And I will just say too, across the street on here where you do see some of the longer windows, those are wood frame houses. Like, they're stylistically very different. They were built earlier than these. I don't see a precedent really for any type of historic documentation for the longer windows.
Thanks, Maggie. And there was Jensen mentioned they did some probes about trying to remove some of the stucco that's on the building, and that some of the brick was delaminating when they tried to take it off, hence the approach to just reapply stucco on there. You have photos, and that's been documented as well, Maggie.
Yeah.
And the only other thing I would say is that I don't think there were two options. The light pink color did not look appropriate to me. I don't know if there are other buildings on this row that have been brownstone or stuccoed, and I would just say that the color should probably try to be consistent with the row.
So that pink color actually exists further down the block within this row. On the computer it looks much more pink than it does in person. But I mean, we're kind of jumping into staff comments here, but the presumption is we would handle this like we would other applications where we can condition it, that I can just go out to the site and review a couple of samples in terms of exterior finish color.
Yes, sorry if I was jumping ahead, but those are kind of the two things that jump out at me. Otherwise, the addition seems in keeping with the rest of the row here, so I don't see much of a problem there. But yeah, if and I guess what I'm getting at is to complete my thought is that if this is a row that has consistent heights of parlor windows and there's no evidence that there were any larger windows along the row, I probably can't support lengthening the windows. I think they should remain as is, but I'm open to more evidence and to see what other commissioners have to say.
I have a question for Jensen. Regarding the proposed rustication on the
Yes.
front facade. Did I understand that the proposal is to rusticate not just the basement level, but also the parlor level?
That's correct.
Is there an explanation for why that's being proposed? I don't know
There's-
if that's very common.
There's another 3 houses down. It has that same, actually that same kind of pattern with the rustication at both the parlor and garden. Actually, if 3 and 4 houses down both have the same. So it was for the ones that had the cement stucco on it on the front, or the brownstone finish. It seemed more consistent to keep with the other buildings on the block.
All right, and then Maggie, if this is staff comments material, maybe we revisit it later, but I didn't know if staff had research or opinions on that as an architectural approach here.
We can address that during staff comments.
Okay.
I would like to add, I kind of am on the same page with Brian about the pinkish stucco color. Even though there is one in the row, I believe the first one, or I should say the one that ends the row heading east, has more of a brown stucco color on it than a pink stucco color. And I just think it's more realistic of brownstone than the color that's been chosen. And I also am on the same page about the windows. Maybe when they do some stuff interior wise, they'll find some evidence that the windows have been shortened. But if they haven't been, I'm kind of on the same page with them being consistent across the entire row, so that everything reads the same. And that's it.
Anyone else have any comments, questions?
I would just agree and echo Paul and Brian's comments about the windows. If there's evidence there, whether they can see that from the interior, a small amount of demolition, then I can agree that makes sense for the building, that if it was that, then it can be that again. But if there's no evidence, I would say that we need to maintain the same dynamic that we have on the rest of the block.
One more question I had is what's happening to the color of the stoop? It's currently gray. Is that being changed to brownstone?
Yes, it would match the same color as the facade, correct?
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, comments, anything like that?
The only other thing that I would mention is sometimes we have to be careful about looking at other buildings for reference points for design styles like like the rustication of the facade. We don't, I don't know if anyone knows whether that other stucco project was done with a certificate or not. But, because it exists doesn't necessarily mean it was a good choice or consistent with historic standards. So I would just express some caution there.
Thank you. All right. Last chance, comments, questions, concerns, anyone? All right, Jensen, does that conclude your testimony?
Yes, it does. Thank you, Maggie.
Angel and Ankit, does that conclude your testimony?
Yes, I just want to add one last thing, that there is at least one house on that block on Third Street that has taller window of 7 feet 10 inches. I'm not sure if the house is built on the same date or not. Angel and I went there to that house and measured the height of the window. The address is 264 Third Street. However, the height of the building is different than the height of the houses that our house.
Thank you. All right, we can open this up for public comment. Are there any members of the public in attendance who would like to speak regarding this application? Please use the raise hand function. Okay, staff sees no hands raised and recommends a motion to open and close public comment.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Let's go to staff comments. I'm gonna go ahead and share the staff report. All right, per usual, going down to staff recommendations. So yeah, kind of as we've discussed, the general bulk of the application, the addition in the rear, the terrace on top of that addition, consistent with what we've seen specifically on this block, but also in Harsmith Cove as a whole. The roof deck railing being visible from the public right of way, again, not an ideal scenario, but it's not going to have an adverse effect. We consistently see the very back of a railing on a roof deck very frequently, and staff doesn't see any major problems with it. The main concern here, of course, was the proposed windows on the front facade. I do, of course, commend the applicant for the amount of time and effort I'm sure doing that inventory of windows took. But the guidelines and standards are pretty clear that changes to buildings should either be something that was happened when the building was constructed, or should be fixes to go back to when the building was constructed. And unless there is some type of building documentation for making the windows taller, which of course I'm open to, it's just not something that we can support at this time. So we do see in the proposed conditions that the parlor floor front facade windows should be revised to reflect the configuration. I would recommend an amendment to that, saying following investigatory demo on the interior, just to confirm that it was not lower and we did not miss something on the front or have something that was covered up by that stucco application. So we can, as of right now, the condition is that the windows will be going back unless something in that investigatory demo tells us differently.
Makes sense.
We can also add a condition in that the HPC staff shall review and approve the exterior finish colors on site. Like I said, that color, the pink color, reads a lot more pink, at least on my computer, than it did kind of in person or on a printed set. But we can find a brownstone adjacent color like we typically do. I'm very confident that staff will be able to do that. Regarding the rustication on the front facade, yeah, it is. I mean, it's something that exists on the block. There is examples of it further down within the row, like I said, constructed at the same time. I'm personally agnostic on it. I think it could stay. I think it could go. If it's something that the commission, I know, Stephen, it sounded like you really are not particularly in support of it. I mean, like I said, I think it's something that I understand their line of reasoning for it. There's nothing specifically in our guidelines for that. But if we're following the same train of thought that we are for the front facade windows, it should be removed from the application.
Yes, Maggie, I brought up a photograph of the rest of the block, and I can see those rustication lines. It's interesting that those lines are on the upper floor, but there are no rustication lines on those buildings on the lower level where you normally see them. So it may have been just that particular contractor's idea of what should be done. You know.
Yeah, I can see it on 276 3rd on the 1938, and then I believe it's 262 might be at the end of the block. I don't remember specifically off the top of my head what number is which, but yeah, you're right. The rustication lines for this are all over the place, but it is clearly something that developer was doing.
I personally would be happy to leave it to staff to make a decision on that.
Do any other commissioners have any feedback on that?
I mean, I just find it atypical and unlikely that it is appropriate.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree with Commissioner Gunther. If it's not supported by any kind of evidence, then it's not appropriate.
All right, so at this point, sounds like the consensus would be to add a condition to remove the proposed rustication on the front.
Maggie, did you say that you noted that some of the rustication was on the 38 photo, on a 38 photograph on that block? Down
Yes.
further down the block?
Yeah.
So you're saying that condition existed in 38?
Yeah,
On a lower level or above?
on a lower level, yeah. Do you
Right.
want me to, I mean, hold on, I can stop sharing this screen. If you guys want, I can pull up the tax card for that building.
Sure.
Please.
We can enter it into evidence in a second. Just give me 2 seconds to get it down. All right. All right, Bridget, how would you like to mark this?
This will be A2 for this, no, this will be B1 for, since it's a board photo.
Okay. All right, give me just a sec. All right. All right, can you all see that?
Yep.
So it is on the upper level, not at the, just at the garden level.
Yeah, no, it goes all the way. It's, I mean, it's much
look-
more impactful on the lower level, but it does, yeah.
It also looks like the upper 2 levels are scored to look like slabs of stone.
Mhm. Yeah.
Not as deep as the rustication on the parlor floor and the first one, but the other 2 definitely have score lines in them.
Yeah, and this is something where there's different things going on the block, unlike the parlor windows, which are all the same on the row. There are different things going on with some have brick, some have brownstone, some have scored, some aren't. So I actually am okay with them doing something different here. So I'm agnostic on what happens. I'm kind of defer to the majority here, but I'd be okay with it as it is.
So, does that mean that the applicant has almost in a sense a carte blanche to pick and choose elements from other buildings, what they did historically? Or are we talking about allowing them to mimic the design of the building that we just saw in Maggie's photo? Because it seems like a half measure to imitate the first 2 floors, but not do the rest with the scoring that Commissioner Amatuzzo mentioned.
So, Jensen, correct me if I'm wrong, the applicant's justification behind doing the rustication on their proposal was that originally their building had brick. They cannot pursue the brick right now. They're proposing the stucco, so they're mimicking the treatment of the stucco further down the road.
Correct.
So following your train of thought, Robert, then we could condition them to use 276's stucco as their example and continue that scoring all the way up, and we would have it be reflected that way.
Just for the record, 274 also has that scoring all the way up to the top floor. In the current condition, it's barely visible, obviously over time, but you can see it.
So we can, I mean, so then I think a reasonable condition here should be that the applicant shall revise the rustication to reflect the stucco treatment, both historically and current day on the row.
That sounds good, Maggie.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Agreed.
Okay,
Agreed.
all right. So I'm just gonna share my screen again and we'll finish up reviewing the staff report. All right, so yeah, like we had started, I didn't actually finish with the recommendation, which was that we are recommending that this COA be approved with conditions. And we don't expect any adverse effect on both the resource or the district as a result of the proposed work. So we have the conditions that we have discussed. We have our standard conditions, which are 3 through 7. And then we also have at this point what is becoming a standard condition but hasn't quite made it there yet. And that there's no lighting proposed for this roof deck on this application. However, if lighting is added, the fixtures shall be downcast. So, you know, we're not lighting the sky, we're just lighting the roof deck area if necessary. All right. Are there any additional questions for staff? All right. Hearing none, again, staff recommends a motion to approve with conditions.
Motion.
Motion to approve. Second.
All right. Jensen, Ankit, Angel, do you guys accept the conditions as read into the record and on the staff report?
Yes.
Great. All right, we'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Gunther,
Aye.
Commissioner Sandcamp,
Aye.
Commissioner Blazak,
Aye.
Commissioner Cronin,
Aye.
Commissioner Amatuzzo,
Aye.
Commissioner Garriga,
Aye.
Commissioner Lewis is absent, Commissioner Sakong is absent, Vice Chair Gutierrez,
Aye.
and Chairman Gordon.
Aye.
There are 8 votes in favor, none against, no abstentions. The COA with conditions is granted.
Thank you all very much. Have a great evening.
All right. I think we have more than enough time before the next application to do, before the next break to do an application. So Robert, if you want to go ahead and call the next case.
So I'll call case H23-98. The applicant is Nelson Benavides, RA, on behalf of Jason Polanski and Charlotte O'Leary, owners. The address is 10 Bright Street in the Van Forst Park Historic District. This is for a certificate of appropriateness for the construction of an internal stair and roof deck at 10 Bright Street, a contributing altered Italianate influenced Greek Revival transitional row house constructed circa 1870.
Just give Jensen a second to load up. Hi, Jensen, I'm sorry, Nelson. I warned you guys that I was tired. All right, why don't we go ahead and swear you in?
Okay, would you raise your right hand to be sworn? Do you swear
Yes.
or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this proceeding will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
And please state and spell your full name for the record.
Nelson Benavides, Nelson Benavides.
Thank you.
Staff notes that Nelson has been previously qualified in front of this board as an expert in the field of architecture many times. And you should be able to share your screen, so you can go ahead and begin your presentation.
Okay. All right, the project is, excuse me, 10 Bright Street. It is the second building in from the corner of the Grove Street on Bright Street. It's an existing 3-family condo building, and the owners of the top floor are proposing building a new staircase to continue the existing staircase up to the roof with a new roof deck and bulkhead. This is the view of the rear yard. And it was a building that was renovated approximately 2 years ago and converted into a condo. And this is the site plan, basically showing the existing building on the lot with an existing ground floor rear yard deck.
And the side of the proposed site plan shows the proposed roof deck, bulkhead, and access, area weight from the stair. This shows the location on Bright Street relative to the block. There is an open lot on York Street, which allows views of the rear from the rear yard. It's an obscured view because of the fencing and landscaping that's there, and also the distance as well. This is the proposed roof deck plan. This is a unique property where the stair was altered during their major renovation. So they actually put a switchback stair instead of a straight run stair. So this stair ends going towards Bright Street as opposed to going towards the rear yard. So it was challenging to basically try to minimize the amount of deck that's towards the front of the property. From Bright Street, the view, it's very minimal in terms of the railings. That's actually towards the Bright Street side with the low profile bulkhead. And on the rear, it's also, it continues all the way across. I'm skirting the decking with some sort of Ipe fascia, metal railings, and the low profile bulkhead. This is the section showing with the new staircase, the low profile bulkhead with the roof hatch and the railings. We keep it as low as possible, and that's why there is a step going towards the back of the property. And we do that basically so that we can minimize the height of the deck from the rear. And basically, this is just a detail section of the new staircase that continues up. The sight lines from Bright Street show that it's not visible from the Bright Street public right of way, even though this is a triangular, street intersection. You could cross the street to Grand Street, which is an extra wide, thoroughfare. From there, it would be barely visible at the railing line. And essentially, this is essentially the example of the type of roof hatch that's proposed. The one thing I forgot to include, I'll show you on the construction drawings, is this is the top floor plan here of the 2-bedroom apartment with the common stair. We are subdividing the stairs, so they do have direct access from the apartment, and they have, it's part of their condo bylaws was previously negotiated to include this. So they have direct access from the apartment, so it's code compliant without having to have a second means of egress. And that concludes my presentation.
Do any commissioners have any questions for Nelson?
Was this a situation where a sky door was not a possibility? Was that given consideration?
Essentially a skylight that's completely flat.
Yes.
Yes, like the previous application. Yeah, yes, because essentially when you look at the head height that's required here, just by having a, let's call it a sky door that's approximately 3 feet wide by 6 or 7 feet long, it wouldn't allow that. I need to have the head height by pitching the roof line. And that's why I use this type of skylight hatch that keeps it low profile. So essentially it's only about 4.5 feet from the roof line, as opposed to a full bulkhead, which could be approximately 8 feet high.
And can you just clarify, when you talked about the visibility from across Grand Street, are you seeing the hatch or just the rail?
No, just the rail. You can see this line here. When the hatch is completely open, it's essentially it's all glass, it would be visible, but that would pretty much be something that you open and close. But the railings, just the top of the railing is visible from Grand Street.
What will be the finish of the railing?
It's painted black metal. I have the details of the, I'm using a vertical rail and the simple profile top and bottom rail.
I wonder, given that it will be somewhat visible, would it be better if it could be like painted more of a gray, or could it be like a dull gray finish so that it wouldn't be so, contrasting against sky?
Yeah, we can easily do a gunmetal gray. The clients are open to that
Okay.
as well. They weren't fixed on black. Typically, we've been using black just to keep in the nature with a lot of the fire escapes and metal work that's in the area, just as the default. But if we want to keep something a little bit lighter, middle gray or dark gray, we would be open to that.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions? All right, Nelson, does that conclude your testimony?
That concludes it.
Great. All right, we'll move to open public comment. If there are any members of the public in attendance who would like to speak regarding this application, please use the raise hand function at the bottom of the screen. Alternatively, you can press *9 if you're on the phone. All right, staff sees no hands raised and recommends a motion to open and close public comment.
Motion.
All right, that was Stephen and Tony.
Yep.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, let's go to staff comments. All right, like usual, we're just gonna scroll right on down to recommendations and comments. This is a pretty standard roof deck application, especially within this historic district. It's minimal, very, very minimally visible to the point where I do not believe there's going to be any type of adverse effect on the resource or the district. So therefore, we are recommending approval of a COA with conditions. 3 through 7 are our standard conditions. Similarly to the last one, there's no proposed lighting for the roof deck, but if one is added, it should be downcast. And just that no portion of the roof deck or accessories like umbrellas, things like that, should be visible from the public right of way. We also have the condition that we added during commissioner comments, which is that the railing finish color shall be revised to gunmetal gray or similar. All right, any commissioners have any questions for staff on this one?
I just wanted to say that there's a couple of us on the board here that were on the board when the firehouse on Bright Street was approved, and just for everyone else just that wasn't here at that time, we did approve that visible across Bright Street. The addition on top of the firehouse was the addition on top of the firehouse was visible across Grand Street, but not across Bright Street. And I think we as a commission felt it was fair that it was one street, and so the public right-of-way was considered the street in front of the building, not two streets in front of the building. So, and that's, I think, how we came to that conclusion. So I feel like it's fair that they have a visible space, a visible railing that's from Grand Street, but not Bright Street.
Thanks, Tony.
I just have one question to follow up about the roof hatch. Since that door may be visible from a public right of way, what does that look like? Is that some shiny metallic deal, or is it minimally visible? And is there anything we could do to mitigate its visibility in keeping with the gunmetal gray railing?
I have an image. Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say it really, I mean, my understanding of this is it kind of just looks like a window. But it's not something that realistically is going to stay open the whole time, right, Nelson?
No, correct. It's something that you typically open, you get out onto the roof deck and you close it behind you.
Maybe
Okay.
Nelson did have that, if it helps, Robert, Nelson did have a example, so maybe it
was on the last page of the PDF, or actually, should I open it up again?
Yeah, that's fine.
Did you give me, oh, share screen? Okay.
You should be good.
This is an image of it in
Okay,
the open
that's,
position.
yeah, that's,
Essentially, it's transparent with a slim white frame on the inside, and on the outside, when it's closed, it's black.
very good. Thank you.
All right. Are there any additional questions for staff? Hearing none, the recommendation is to approve the COA with the conditions read into the record and on the staff report.
Recommendation to approve.
Second.
Okay. Nelson, does your client accept the conditions?
Yeah, yes, we do.
Great. All right, we'll move to a roll call vote. Commissioner Blazak,
Aye.
Commissioner Cronin,
Aye.
Commissioner Gunther,
Aye.
Commissioner Amatuzzo,
Aye.
Commissioner Sandcam,
Aye.
Commissioner Griga,
Aye.
Commissioner Lewis is absent, Commissioner Zakong is absent, Vice Chair Gucciardo,
Aye.
and Chairman Gordon.
Aye.
All right, there are 8 votes in favor, none against, no abstentions. The certificate of appropriateness with conditions is granted.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Nelson.
Bye-bye.
All right, we are just about the time for a break. I know it's 7:58. Usually we break around 8 for a little bit. Are we all good with going a couple minutes early?
Yes.
Okay. All right. See everyone back here 8:05.
Yes, thank you.
All right, sounds good.
On the record. Or now we're back on the record. And I'm going to call case H23-32. The applicant is Jeff Jordan, RA, on behalf of 117 Cole Street, LLC. The address, of course, is 117 Cole Street in the Hamilton Park Historic District. This is for a certificate of appropriateness for interior renovations, facade restoration, and the construction of a full-height rear addition and roof deck at 117 Cole Street, an altered contributing transitional Italianate townhouse constructed circa 1875 in Hamilton Park.
Okay, let's go ahead and swear Jeff in, and then we can begin.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this proceeding will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. And if you can just state and spell your full name for the record.
Sure. My name is Jeff Jordan, JEFF JORDAN.
Thank you.
Staff notes that Jeff has previously been qualified in front of this board as an expert in the field of architecture many times.
Thank you. And Mr. Joseph is on as well, representing the
everybody.
LLC.
Yes.
Hi, Stephen Joseph, for the record, I'm representing the applicant. So this is a full 3-story rear addition, but we're not requesting any variances, and site plan approval is not required for this. So this is just an HPC application. My client is part of BGT Enterprises, which is a local business group. They are responsible for the Brunswick School, and they've developed other properties in this immediate area. So, for example, 357 3rd Street, 129 Brunswick Street, 471 Monmouth Street, and several more properties as well. So they're hoping to add this into what has been a chain of very successful properties in the area and giving back to the community. So Jeff is obviously our architect this evening. As was mentioned, this property is heavily altered currently, and just going to walk you through what he's going to do to bring this back to life.
All right. Thank you, Stephen. I'll go ahead and share my screen if that's all right, Maggie. All right. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Very good. Okay. As Stephen noted, the project's located on Cole Street, 117 Coles between 6th and 7th. This is a photograph of the existing front facade. You can see it has been heavily altered. This is the back of the building. This is the block plan as it currently stands. Block plan is proposed. I'll get into greater detail on the next page. So as you can see here in the existing site plan, what we have is the original structure here at the front, which is shaded. There's a rear yard addition, which is a single story in the back. There are actually a couple of smaller accessory shed structures as well in the backyard. We're proposing the removal of the existing one-story rear yard addition, removal of the sheds and associated hardscaping in the back, and replacement with a new 3-story rear yard addition to match the height of the existing 3-story original structure. There's a section to help kind of clarify that a bit. Additionally, some landscape work in the back, including fencing, a patio, some permeable paving. You will note that the building does have a setback along the south side presently with a neighbor at 115 Coles. That's a small alleyway that's going to be maintained and actually widened as we get back to the new addition portion of the building. On the north side, it's built to the lot line like the adjacent structures. And as Stephen noted, there are no variances. Everything is done within the allowable bulk requirements. At the cellar level, which is an open sort of storage space, mechanical, with the stair up to the unit above. There's also a rear yard stair that comes out of a light well. This is a 2-unit presently, and the idea is to maintain the 2 units. So at the ground level, there'll be 1 unit with a bedroom, kitchen, dining, living spaces. That's accessed via a storefront, which I'll show you in the elevations, that will be recreated based on what was there originally. And then there's a stoop taking you to a stair, which brings you up to the 2nd floor. The rear of the building on the 2nd floor is part of that lower level unit. So it's a duplex, giving them 3 bedrooms and access to the rear yard. The front unit has its living space facing Cole Street with stairs along the side. And then you arrive at the 3rd floor, which is the sleeping spaces for that 2nd unit, terminating in a bulkhead partway back on the existing structure, serving a roof deck, which is at the back of the roof. It's approximately 18 feet off the front cornice, sort of, in an attempt to make it not visible from the street. The facade, as noted previously, has been heavily altered. Unfortunately, we don't have the 1938 tax photo for this property, but we do have the adjacent ones at 115, 117, and 115 and 119. So we're trying to sort of draw evidence from those 2 in making our actually, we do have the tax photo. I apologize, 1938 there. So you can see
not the nice version.
Yeah, that's what it was. I remember there was some caveat to this. So it was very grainy. So we're trying to pull as much evidence as we can from the adjacent photos. You can see in the 119 photo that the facade was originally a smooth stucco and it had a storefront below. In the 115 photo, we can see evidence of coins along the edges. Again, evidence of that storefront. So the proposal is to recreate that 1938 front facade, right? And so what we've done is we've reestablished the storefront at the base, large windows, generous entry, and then repositioned and expanded the windows from what's there presently to 3 windows across on each floor, double hung 1/1. We've reintroduced the coins along the side and rebuilt that cornice as best we can based on the very limited photographic evidence. I apologize. I'd noticed when I was prepping for this that the colors of these 2 paints did not show up. I do have the older application. I'm just going to show it for the sake of these colors, the older drawing, I should say. The proposal is that the siding color would be this Bennington gray, and it doesn't come through quite as well, of course, on the screen as it would in real person.
Can I just interrupt you for a moment?
Sure.
I still see the original screen that you brought up, which shows the building floor plan. I am not seeing any of the other pictures. I don't know about the other commissioners.
I see the paint colors that.
Yeah, I see the front elevations.
I also see the new paint colors, or did.
Okay,
All right, maybe my screen's frozen, I guess.
yeah, I apologize for that. You made me very nervous there. Yeah, so sorry about that. So the siding color is this lighter kind of tan gray. The coins in the cornice would be this sort of medium tan gray color, and then we do a darker brown for the storefront and the window trims. The back and sides of the building would be more modern in appearance. They would have the same stucco finish and that same color, but larger windows, which would be more consistent with modern design and a brighter, kind of more open, airy living space. This is the side elevation along that alleyway that I mentioned. It starts out at about 2.5 feet, and then it widens to, I believe, 4.5 feet. So we're allowed to do some windows along the side, which helps with the addition of bedrooms along the side there. I should note that in this elevation, you can see that the roof deck, we simply extended the walls up as parapets. So there's no guardrail visible from the sides or the rear of the building for that roof deck. From the front of the building, this again won't be visible from the public way, but there would be a metal, painted metal vertical guardrail on the front side. Going back, this is the elevation from the neighbor's side. Again, stucco siding in that color that I mentioned before. You can see the bulkhead here. Sections, I won't dwell on these too much, but you can see the lower unit here occupies most of the first floor and a portion of the second, and then the upper unit occupies the remainder of the second floor and all of the third. You can see the bulkhead is sloped down, again, to help reduce its visibility from the public way on Coles, and then the roof deck occupies the rear of the roof there. And then at the back here, we have some additional details for the storefront. We spent a lot of time working with staff on getting the proportions right. Again, it's very hard given the limited evidence that was available in the photographs, but we've done our best to recreate what would have been there. This is all proposed as wood, which will then be painted. Some additional details on the cornice and on the fences, both at the rear yard and the guardrail at the roof. Window details. I believe that. Oh, more storefront details, I apologize. And that does it. So I'll leave it there and I'll answer any questions.
Do any commissioners have any questions for Jeff?
I guess Jeff, why didn't you mention that you were also the architect for the building next door? That was a great rehab where there was all sorts of later accretions on, removed, and was restored to the 1938 tax photo.
I should have mentioned that, but I don't like to brag. That building did turn out well, though. That you can see a portion of it here. Similar condition, actually, where we tried to recreate a storefront and take it back. That was a fun project. Thank you for mentioning that, Commissioner.
My only question is, so right now it's vinyl siding on the building?
Yeah, I believe it is vinyl.
And has there been any no investigatory demo done to kind of see if there's anything behind there, or do you have any idea what if there is original historic fabric behind the vinyl siding?
We don't know. We haven't done any demo on that. Of course, if something turns up in the process of removing that siding, we would certainly let staff know. Our sense is that given the degree of the alterations on the front, there's probably very little remaining. But yeah, we will see when we open that up.
Stephen, if you're talking, you have to unmute yourself.
So sorry. Is this a frame building or a masonry building?
As best we can tell, this is a frame building.
So the reason for going with a masonry style front is the evidence from the 1938 photograph?
Actually, from the, I should have mentioned the tax records, if I'm not mistaken, right? Maggie mentioned stucco as the siding material.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Kind of an unusual development for a
Very
frame-
unusual.
Frame building, so it's kind of putting question marks in my head, sorry.
Yeah, and I may be wrong. It may be masonry and that may become evident when we open it up. The building next door at 115 that we also worked on was frame. It was balloon framed, which was really interesting to explore. But yeah, this one we're fairly certain is frame, but I don't think it really impacts what we're proposing here in terms of the finishes. But yeah, very little evidence is apparent from what's there now.
I know that there's asphalt shingles under that vinyl siding. That was a house that I frequented very, very often as a child. But yeah, I don't know what goes beyond that.
Are there any other questions, comments?
The side alley, are those windows that you're proposing visible from the public right of way?
You can you see the plan?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is the first floor level. The alleyway is quite tight at 2.5 feet. I don't believe this window will be all that apparent from the side view there. On the second floor, the window's even further back.
Mhm.
And then the third floor, it does come back a little bit, but it is up 3 stories at that point. So this one is probably the most visible of the 3. But again, that sight line is incredibly hard to achieve. Let's see if we can even, yeah, I don't have it here in these photos, but you can see there's actually even a gate there. It's tough to line that up quite right to see the window. So I think it's a sort of minimal impact in terms of visibility.
Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, please go ahead,
I guess we were just talking about visibility. My only question is, because it will be a full height addition, is there any visibility? Have you done studies to see if it'll be visible over that like 1.5 story like extension that's on 7th Street? There's like a little bit of a break there.
We go up to the block plan. So on 7th, oh, here.
Yeah.
So I guess that's a good question. We didn't look at that. That's a 1 story. The neighbor adjacent immediately to the north is a 2 story. So I imagine that would probably be visible. At that point, you would be seeing, essentially a stucco wall and a parapet condition. Let's go.
So I can jump in. I actually don't know how visible it's going to be. Jeff, if you go back to the site plan,
Yeah.
the building directly adjacent to this to the north, they came to the commission a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, to reconfigure that rear addition, and they went up a floor.
Yeah.
So the one that directly abuts 7th Street is quite low, but that one at 119 is it's not full height, it's 1 story below, but they have a terrace.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I see that.
So if anything, you're just gonna see that terrace, I think.
Okay.
Their rear yard on there, I believe is about, it's either 10 feet or 5 feet. So I guess it could be visible at that back end, but I don't know how visible.
Okay. Yeah. It may not be a concern then. I was just wondering about that.
Yeah, and that's actually, it's like it's 1 story, but it's a basement and ground and first floor. So it's more like a 2 story with a terrace on top. So I don't think you're gonna see it. Or if you are, you're gonna see it very minimally.
Well, if the applicant could just check. I mean, wouldn't be hurt to check.
And then the adjoining yards, can you zoom in on that block plan a
Sure.
little, actually? I'm just a little confused. So immediately to the north, there's a neighboring 3-story building, and then where your hand is now, is that an addition as well?
Yeah, here I'm gonna pan over. This is that building and that is that addition.
Okay. And then is do the building then, so your addition is going back, and then what is the gray just to the north of that? Yeah, there. What is that? Are those additions as well?
My understanding is that those are additions that have been built back there. I don't have them in our photos. It's not covered for some reason what we took. We weren't really even focused on that at the time. But my understanding is that there are additions back there. I believe it's a single story coverage in the back there.
I guess I'm just because it looks like your addition is it going to be abutting?
It is. It's on the property line.
Yeah, that's
As they are.
unusual also.
Yeah. Because those must be small lots.
Yeah, these are, I believe, 50-foot deep lots. Yeah, all of these would be 50 feet deep, right?
And there's
This
no
is 100.
issue in terms of setbacks or zoning or do they
No.
have, and they don't, do they have window openings there?
No, they can't because they're on the property line.
And those neighbors, I guess, have been noticed about this application, correct?
Noticing is not required for HPC, so no,
I
it
see.
wouldn't have been noticed.
It's just a very unusual situation with the building going back that far, abutting other buildings at their rear property line. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that before.
Yeah, it is admittedly a very strange combination of buildings in the back here with the partial height. These are newer buildings too, if I recall, on 7th Street. And I believe these are 4-story tall, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you're right. Mhm.
Yeah.
Excuse me, but I'm still having problems with my laptop and my screen keeps freezing. So you guys are discussing the rear yards where how close the buildings come to each other?
Yes.
And what is that distance again?
It's on the property line.
Okay.
Along the side, sorry. On the side, it's along the property line, and that's 30 feet off the rear line, which is the setback requirement.
Okay. So we're saying it comes very close to the buildings on 7th Street? Is that what we're saying?
Correct.
Yeah, they're abutting each other, Paul. The properties that are on 7th that have their rear
And have
yards touching
just-
this lot.
Okay, so just curious, if anyone has checked with fire code to see if they allow buildings to be that close to each other on separate streets. I know this was an issue a while back. There was a fire on 3rd Street and the building on Monmouth Street had such a huge addition on it that the fire jumped from one to the other because the buildings were so close to each other. So I was just a question I have.
Yeah, it's a good question. I will say as far as I can tell, the back of that building would be on the property line. So per the building code, it would be required to be a 1-hour rated or greater wall. And then the walls that we would be building along that property line would be the same. So there would be fire rated walls, abutting fire rated walls. And then the windows for that building would be set back that I don't know the exact dimension. I'm guessing it's probably 10 to 15 feet. And at that point within the building code, you're actually allowed fairly sizable window areas because you're far enough off the property line. So I think from a fire safety standpoint, everything is fine there. Of course, all this will go through the building department and they'll let us know if there are any issues, but we're not anticipating any issues from either a zoning or a building standpoint along that line, given our understanding.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, are there any additional questions?
We'll just ask that the exploration does go a little bit further on the front, as Brian had mentioned. Because I'm still having difficulties understanding the combination of materials. This is a frame building. I can't imagine that, the stucco on the front, I get it's in the 1938 photograph, but we just had an application where just doing a little bit more research revealed a much more appropriate front that might be acceptable to the applicant. So if the applicant wouldn't mind being willing to take a look at the front as they remove materials to see if there's any evidence of a prior facade.
Yeah, no, we're absolutely open to that. The tax card had the stucco listing on it, but it
Understood.
does seem inconsistent with anything we've experienced. We've done a fair number of buildings downtown at this point, and I've never seen that. So it could be a mistake on the tax card. So we're certainly open to taking a look at that. And we prefer not to do stucco, really. I mean, it'd be, I think, more in keeping with the rest of the district to do something.
Sure, with a wood storefront and a wood
Yeah.
cornice and a frame building, it might be worth a little bit more investigation.
Yeah, happy to do more investigation.
I wonder if it was an asphalt shingle, like Paul said, and that's what we're seeing in the 38 tax photo. Because Paul didn't mention that
It was asphalt shingles.
I wonder if that's
In the
what we're seeing.
1960s,
I
for
know
sure.
yeah. But in the 115 Coles, it doesn't look like that. Yeah, it does look like stucco. If you zoom into 115.
Yeah, you can see
I don't
the edge
have
of it
it
there.
in front of me, but the crappy version of the 38 that Jeff had where they mark off the materials, stucco was marked off.
And you can see scoring. And when
Yeah.
you're looking at 119, you can see, I think that, or that might be power. It might be power lines because then it goes across.
I think it's power lines.
Yeah.
But keep in mind that they may have only stuccoed the facade as
Yeah.
well.
Right.
And the rest of the building could have still been, the original shiplap siding or, whatever it would have been, or just asphalt on top of that as well.
Yeah, and certainly if the commission's open to it, we would be happy to, to do something that would be more appropriate for the period, whether it be brick or, wood plank type material.
I'd be happier to see it be, clapboard, like you've got going on at 115.
Yeah.
I think that they probably would relate to each other much better, as no other building seems to have this stucco treatment over there with the keys on it, especially. So I'd be happy to your further exploration.
Okay.
By the way, I'm seeing that Ben Torrey, who I think is the owner, has his hand up. I didn't know if he wanted to be promoted but I just noticed that in the attendees list.
Yeah, I see that as well. Stephen, would you like me to promote Ben?
Sure. I'm not sure how much there is to say, but he is, very proud of his projects and business he does in Jersey City. So if he wants to say a couple of words.
Sure. Ben, I'm going to promote you. Just let us swear you in first before you begin any testimony.
And Ben, raise your right hand to be sworn.
Oh, hi, Bridget.
Hi. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this proceeding will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. And please state and spell your full name for the record.
Benham Torrey, BEHNAM TORREI.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maggie and commissioners, for your time. I guess to just confirm everyone's sentiment, we prefer not to do stucco, actually, if the board is okay us using a different material. Stephen mentioned very correctly that doing stucco on a frame building is actually quite a challenge, and it's going to lead to a lot of other issues down the line. So we prefer, if we could, use a different material that might be appropriate for a time. That's it. That's all I want to say.
Great. Thank you.
I actually have a question, but do you know if, is it accurate that those buildings on 7th Street go all the way back?
They're not. They actually, there's actually a 15-foot setback on all of those.
Okay,
Okay, yeah, my apologies.
well, that makes a big difference.
Yeah,
I was just gonna say that my building on Bright Street in the 38 tax photo is completely stuccoed. And all reference to it is masonry and stucco. And my building is a wood frame building that has 9.5-inch Dutch lap on the sides, and it has 4-inch, it has 4-inch clapboards on the front. It had corner blocks, it had everything. All the original ghosts, all the original parts of the wood were underneath the stucco. So you might have a layer of stucco, you might have the original under the stucco, you might have on top of the stucco a layer of asphalt shingles, and on top of that, vinyl.
And when you remove all of it, you'll gain a foot in property length.
Find us some evidence that we can approve of a more appropriate material, and we'd be happy to do it.
It'll be exciting. You're gonna find, I think, what was there. And I think it'll be a wood structure of a wood clapboard or wood Dutch lap or something like that.
Great.
that sounds good. Is that something that we could deal with staff on? Should we find that?
Yeah,
okay.
I have a condition written down already. We'll get to it.
All right, thank you.
All right, any other questions? All right, hearing none. Jeff, Stephen, Ben, does that conclude your testimony?
It does.
Yes, it does.
Great, so let's move to open public comment. Are there any members of the public in attendance tonight who would like to speak regarding this application? Please use the raise hand function at the bottom of the screen. If you're on the phone, you can press *9. Staff sees no hands raised and recommends a motion to open and close public comment.
Motion to open and close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, go ahead and share my screen with the staff report. All right, I'm already in staff comments and recommendations. Yeah, so the rear addition here again, it's as consistent with the block as it can be. This, like we have kind of seen on this block site plan, this is a very piecemeal together block. There's no real consistent setback of any of these additions that are on these buildings. The property sizes are all over the place. There's no real consistent donut. So this addition is consistent with what we see for full height additions within historic districts. I mean, it is technically obliquely visible through that side alley. You got to be standing like a very specific way to see it, but it will be technically visible. So we do have to note it for the record. However, I do not think that it's going to have any type of adverse impact on the resource or the historic district. Like I said, I think you'd have to like stand sideways and like contort your body in a way that's probably not healthy to see this. Again, most of the whole project follows the design standards and the Secretary of the Interior standards. We will have the applicant do exploratory demo. The front facade restoration also appears to be drawn per, especially the storefront at the bottom. Like Jeff said, we did spend quite a bit of time kind of going back and forth on what the dimensions look like they were in the historic tax photos. So hopefully we'll find some more evidence to back up some of those dimensions or change them as.
Maggie, slow down, please, and repeat the last sentence. So
hopefully we'll find some ghost lines, things like that underneath the facade to be able to refine those measurements or change them if necessary. All of that being said, staff supports the project and recommends approval of the certificate of appropriateness with the following conditions. 2 through 6 are standard conditions. Number 1, we see a standard roof deck condition that nothing shall be visible on the roof deck itself, no umbrellas, no vegetation, things like that. We do not need the downcast light condition here because they're already there. We also have the condition, as discussed during commissioner comments, that the applicant shall perform exploratory demo of the front facade finishes prior to the submission of construction documents and update the details as necessary. Right, does any commissioners have any questions for staff?
A quick question, Maggie, if the exploration finds that it is a clapboard building or something of that nature, what about the side that shows to the south? You know, going back some distance, wouldn't it be appropriate to consider it on that facade as well?
These, I will call the standard way that we treat that is when you have an exposed side of a historic building. That is not part of the addition, you treat that with the original material, and then the addition is the new material.
Right,
So
exactly.
if we did uncover that, the game plan would be to treat it the same way that we normally treat it.
Okay, great, thank you.
I appreciate that clarification on the record, though. Any other questions?
What is that south facade shown as now? What material?
Right now, it's fine.
It's stucco.
Okay. Yeah, so I okay, thank you.
Right, any other questions, comments, concerns? Right, again, the recommendation is for approval of certificate of appropriateness with conditions on the staff report and as read into the record.
I'll
Make
make
the
a motion
motion.
to approve with staff conditions.
I'll second.
Okay, we have Paul, and then we have Tony. Stephen, Jeff, Ben, do you guys accept the conditions?
Conditions are accepted.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Move to a roll call vote. Commissioner Cronin,
Sorry about that. Aye.
thanks. Commissioner Blazak.
Aye.
Okay, Commissioner Amatuzzo,
Aye.
Commissioner Garriga,
Aye.
Commissioner Sandkamp,
Aye.
Commissioner Gunther.
Aye.
Okay, Commissioner Lewis is absent, Commissioner Sakong is absent, Vice Chair Gucciardo,
Aye.
and Chairman Gordon.
Aye.
Right, there are 8 votes in favor, none against, no abstentions. The COA with conditions is granted.
Wonderful. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks,
Good evening.
guys.
Thank you.
All right,
All right. Maggie, we good to call the next one? All right,
Yeah,
so the
full
next
steam
one
ahead.
is H23-95. Applicant is still Jeff Jordan, RA. On behalf of Samuel Brzezowski and Zealand Liang owners, the address is 287 Varick Street in the Van Voorst Park Historic District for a certificate of appropriateness for interior renovations, window replacement, and the installation of a rear door and spiral staircase visible from the public right-of-way at 287 Varick Street, an altered contributing Italianate row house constructed circa 1880 in Van Voorst Park.
All right, Jeff, you're good to go.
Very exciting, a double header. Am I still sworn in?
Yes.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Bear with me, it's a different project. All right, can everyone see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Very good. All right. As mentioned, this project proposes primarily interior alterations with some exterior ones that we'll go through. The building is currently a 4-family, 4-story effectively row house here at the end of Varick Street. The proposal is to do a single level walkout on the first floor and then an owner's triplex above that. Sam and Zealand are the new owners. They're currently occupying the second floor. They'll be renovating the entirety of the building. The exterior, and I'm just going to show you quickly. The front is currently a brownstone type finish. The arched windows. It's a beautiful building. The back brick, you can see here, there's actually been some alterations through the years. The windows were shortened on the second floor. There's a fire escape back there now. That'll come up later. And then I don't know if you can see this very well. There's a smaller image here of, there's an existing garage in the back corner. I'll show you on the site plan. There was a deck there previously, which has since been removed. And here's the 38 photo. So as mentioned, there's no proposed changes in the footprint of the building. The exterior work consists primarily of window changes, and then a lot of landscape type work, as well as a rear door, 2 rear doors, and a rear spiral stair. So in the existing site plan, you see the principal structure here, and then the garage accessory structure in the back with a small sort of garden space in between. They currently have a fence which stretches along the edge of the property here, which actually is beyond the property. Here's the property line. It's in that sort of franchise space that we see a lot downtown. The proposal is to reconfigure the backyard, the combination of permeable paving and gravel, incorporate a series of wooden planters, and I'll show details on these in a moment, along the fence here, and then replace a section of fencing in the back, which is currently wood now, with new metal to match what's there. I'll take you through all that. Additionally, on the front, there's a small hatch that currently serves the cellar. We're proposing expanding that so it can be an actual walk down. It would still be flush at grade, but it would be a proper stair to gain access to that cellar space. And some more landscaping up on the front corner here. Existing tree with some new stepping stones and permeable material. Cellar plan, not particularly exciting, although I do want to note the expansion of the existing cellar access stair. So the first floor becomes a 1-bedroom apartment with access to the rear yard. One of the things we're asking for is the expansion of this rear door. So extending over into the adjacent brick a couple of feet to create a larger opening with a side light. And then, as I mentioned before, the planters along the side, I'll show you those in a moment. I won't bother taking too much time on the second floor, living space for them. Third floor and fourth floor would be bedrooms for the owner's triplex. No proposed work on the roof beyond a couple of heat pump units, which won't be visible from the public way. The front facade here, minimal changes. What we're proposing is replacing the existing windows with a new 2/2 wooden window. We actually spoke with staff about this. The current windows are 1/1. The 38 tax photo suggests a 1/1. However, there's several examples on the same block of 2/2. And it was agreed upon that that would be appropriate here. No changes in window sizes. Everything's within existing openings. The existing door is just going to be repaired and repainted. The existing stoop is in good condition. Any sort of repair work that's needed, cracking, that sort of thing would be done, and it would be painted the same color that it is now. No changes there. No changes to the front gate. So really the sort of significant change to the front would be the windows. Let's see here. On the back of the building, as I mentioned before, the fire escape would be removed. The windows would be replaced again with 2/2 units. This window here, which is on the parlor level, would be extended down, removing the brick within that same width opening to allow for a new doorway. A transom window would be added over the top of that door. Again, as I mentioned before, there is actually evidence of those windows extending down previously and having been filled in with a different brick. And then the addition of a spiral metal stair to gain access to the backyard from that parlor unit. And then the expansion of this existing doorway to make a wider doorway with a large side light. Again, the idea there is to, we're trying to increase the light and connectivity for that lower unit to that backyard. Bearing in mind that there is a fence and proposed plantings along that side property line there. My computer is now slow. Along the side, I'm sorry, let me go to the demo plan. There is one change to a window on the side here. I don't know if you can see it very well through the fencing. The window at the rear of the property is actually was a shorter, again, the window opening was compressed. It's a smaller window now. We're proposing, again, expanding that opening downward to match the other two. And then there's existing metal fencing along the back here that would be replaced. It's actually in pretty bad shape. And so we're proposing matching the fencing that runs along the side here. And you can see the existing fencing is actually taller than what is often seen, more typically the sort of lower fencing. The existing condition has this taller fencing. We're just going to extend that through to the back. And so I'll go to the proposed elevation. So you can see that, again, new metal fencing to match what's there, to replace that fencing, which is in bad condition. A new gate, again, to replace the gate that's at the garage presently. And then if you can see, and I apologize, they're small in this print and my computer's getting tired. Planters along the, it's going to quit on me. Planters along the side here, which would be sort of marching along the fence, and those would be obviously filled with plants, creating a little bit of a buffer between the public way, the sidewalk there, and the backyard. There's an existing wooden fence on the north side, abutting the neighbor, that would stay intact. Here's a view for the spiral stair. You can see the planters from inside the backyard now. Typical window details for that spiral stair. Again, it's all metal construction. It's meant to be similar to the fencing that is already present on site in terms of the look and sizing. This is a detail through that that front cellar access, just showing the expanded stair and a hatch. The hatch would be flush with the adjacent concrete, meant to be minimally visible. This is a section through those planters. They're wood clad, 2.5 feet tall or so, fairly narrow. Again, just meant to create a bit of a visual buffer between the sidewalk and the backyard. And I believe that's it.
Great. Are there any questions for Jeff?
I have a few questions. Jeff, the material of the flush expanded door to the basement, what will that be made out of in the front yard?
Yeah, that would be steel.
Like a diamond plate or something like that,
Yep,
that you see
exactly.
typically? Mhm.
Yep.
Please,
Okay.
could you to repeat?
Like a diamond plate that you would typically see on basement hatches.
Exactly.
Mhm. And the gate that runs in front of the garage at the rear of the property. Is that because the garage is set back from the franchise line? Or
Correct.
is
Yeah,
actually
that
at the property line, right?
the garage is at the property line, and then there's an existing gate which you can see here in the demo plan, which opens out. It's actually very it's not particularly useful because you can't, in terms of accessing it, it blocks the sidewalk when it's open. So the idea is that a sliding gate would be put in place to match the fencing adjacent.
I see. And could you tell me what the current material is along the side of the building where the planters are being proposed? What is that material now?
This is all concrete presently.
And will remain concrete?
It'll remain concrete up until the front corner here, and we're proposing this become a more permeable material at the corner, with some more landscaping and stepping stones walking or moving through there. So that, yeah, we're trying to increase the the permeability on the site. It was previously a deck with concrete below it, and then concrete it's basically 100% lot coverage. we're going to be opening that up significantly.
Yeah, I think my only comment there was that I was wondering why planters and why you're not actually landscaping the side of the building. And I guess it's because there's existing concrete there.
Correct.
If I had my druthers, it would be a planted yard along the side of the building if the owners didn't need, access back and forth.
Yeah, no, I think it's, preserving access is important. I think creating a little bit of a buffer between the, the sidewalk and those windows along the side there in that backyard is desired. So those planters, they do both of those things for us without damaging the concrete.
And my last question is do you have a photograph of the existing fencing that runs along that alongside the facade of the building?
Yeah, let me see if I can. So yeah, you can see here it's a taller metal, and then it's actually back in here. It's been wrapped in wood, painted wood. It's not very attractive.
So you're looking to match the existing, yes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That answers my question. Appreciate it.
Are there any additional questions? All right, hearing none. Jeff, does that conclude your testimony?
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
No problem. All right. Let's go to open public comment. If there are any members of the public in attendance who would like to speak regarding this application, please use the raise hand function. If you're on the phone, you can press *9. Okay, staff sees no hands raised and recommends a motion to open and close public comment.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right, let's go ahead and share my screen for staff comments. And let's go down to recommendations. So again, we have a pretty typical application for the commission. It's a spiral staircase going into a rear yard, especially with the design and materiality proposed here, is certainly not going to adversely affect the historic district. We see things like this pretty regularly. The closest example I can think of off the top of my head to this are all of the backyards of Mercer Street by City Hall. You can see right through down that block. They all have spiral staircases into the rear yard. It's something that we see specifically within this historic district pretty frequently. Regarding the windows on the front facade, like Jeff said, the 2/2s, while not on the 1938, are architecturally appropriate for this building. It's not the photos on the plans do not show it, but the building directly adjacent to this, 289, came to the commission around this time last year for a roof deck and window replacement, and the commission also approved 2/2 windows on that building as well. So it's something that the commission has approved in the past. It's appropriate for the building. Staff doesn't really have any concerns about it, except for the fact that in order for it to be approved, they had to come here. So it's lucky that they were also doing the spiral stair. That being said, we think the project as proposed is not going to have an adverse effect on the historic resource or the historic district as a whole. And we recommend the approval of a COA with the following conditions. We actually have standard conditions.
Wait, what's going on there? Go ahead, Maggie.
And we actually only have standard conditions on this application. So, of course, any materials, anything changed needs to come back to the commission. We'll get the construction documents, review them thoroughly. Same thing we always do with all of these other applications. I'm happy to answer any questions.
So my computer is also not being very cooperative at the moment, so I'm having difficulty pulling up the plans. Just following up on Commissioner Gucciardo's question a moment ago. The metal fencing that's being removed, does that have any kind of historic value, or is that something more contemporary?
My understanding is it was altered at some point, and they went so far as to then clad it in wood and paint it. So I think it's in poor condition. We will, once we are able to remove the wood, if it appears like it's actually in better condition than it seems, or if there's, some historic value, I'm happy to have staff come out and meet with us and take a look. Certainly, if we can keep it, that would be, good economically for our clients. But yeah, our sense is that it's probably in pretty bad shape and needs to be replaced.
I think we've seen fencing that has been in disrepair, but was confirmed to have historic value and could be restored. I don't know if that's the case here. Is that something, Mr. Jordan, you indicated you would look into that?
Yeah, happy to look into it and happy to meet Maggie on site to have her expertise evaluate. She's better at that than I am. So.
And I'm happy to do that. Just so that the record is clear, though, the chances that they're going to have to replace a portion of it, especially back towards where that wood cladding is pretty high. But if we're able to salvage portions of it, I think that is perfectly appropriate, and also will probably make it easier for those reproduction pieces that will have to be added. Okay. Any other questions for staff? Okay. Hearing none, once again, the recommendation is for the approval of the COA with the conditions read on the staff report. And then we also have an additional condition that HPC staff shall meet with the applicant on site to review the condition of the fence. Anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve with conditions.
Second.
Second.
Paul and Janelle. Jeff, does your client accept the conditions as read into the record on the staff report?
Yes, thank you.
Great. All right, we'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Griga.
Aye.
Okay. Commissioner Cronin.
Aye.
Commissioner Blazak.
Aye.
Commissioner Gunther.
Aye.
Commissioner Sandkamp.
Aye.
Commissioner Amatuzzo.
Aye.
Commissioner Lewis is absent. Commissioner Sakong is absent. Vice Chair Gucciardo.
Aye.
And Chairman Gordon.
Aye.
There are 8 votes in favor, none against, no abstentions. The COA with conditions is approved.
Thank you all for putting up with me twice tonight.
Thanks, Jeff.
Have a good night. Take care.
You too.
You too. All right. Thank you all for getting through all of those applications so seamlessly. I genuinely do appreciate it because, like I said, I'm very tired. Anyway, tabled cases. No update on the French American Academy, 11 Erie Street. I sent out a email to their attorneys, kind of getting what the deal was. Again, that's one that quite literally hasn't even made it to the commission. So at this point, I'm kind of looking for them to either withdraw or at least appear in front of the commission. 289 Pavonia, have a request in to see what their deal is as well. We've discussed 591 Montgomery Street. They will be on the June meeting. This agenda already says the June meeting, but whatever. 218 5th Street also will be on the June meeting. There is a chance that the 218 5th Street will be requesting a special meeting. There was some discrepancy as to if they were going to be heard tonight or not. And I believe they are gonna put in a request for a special meeting. So just keep an eye out on your email. We'll send along some dates. If it works and we can accommodate it, great. But I did advise the applicant that it is the time period in which they're seeking a special meeting is not only surrounding Memorial Day, but also surrounding the end of the school year, which makes things very, very difficult. So we'll see what we can do. And that is the best we can do. 7th Street, they did put in their application for exploratory demo for the front facade. So once they get started on that, I'm sure we'll get some plan updates as well. All right.
Maggie, what's the date of the June meeting? If you don't mind. The
June
12th.
Yeah. I mean, realistically, there are only a couple of dates that would even work because when we review special meeting dates, we look at not only can like staff accommodate it, but is there a planning board meeting? Is there a zoning board meeting? Those not only because we don't want to conflict with a land use meeting, but we all use the same Zoom account and we can't have more than one webinar at a time. But we also, of course, look at caucus meetings, city council meetings, rent leveling board meetings, and the cannabis control board meetings. And we have to make something work within that, within the holidays, within the end of the school year. In addition to, we do have the first community meeting for the master plan element on Tuesday, the 30th. So that's another thing that we have to take into account here. Anyway, any other questions on any of those that I read through? Cool. All right, we have no resolutions to introduce or discuss or memorialize. We do not need an executive session, and that just leaves us with adjournment.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Okay, it is 9:06 p.m. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.